It's time to mind your business with me, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda business starts here. Hey, welcome to Mind Your Business.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm your host, Jamillah Lodge, and we've met before. I think it was 2 years ago that you were here last. So I'm happy to have you on again, Kyle Swan of Swan Pyrotechnics. So for those who didn't get a chance to watch the episode 2 years ago, why don't you reintroduce yourself and let people know who you are?
Great. So I'm Kyle Swan, owner of Swan Pyrotechnics, like you mentioned. I'm a Bermudian citizen, born and raised. Went away to school like most of us do. And just recently, well, I say recently, 2 years ago now, I returned back to Bermuda. And that podcast that we did 2 years ago, I had just returned back to the island. So a lot of excitement, a lot of optimism then. And so I'm here today to talk about some of the things that we've done since then.
Yeah.
So just still here, still excited to be living in Bermuda and adjusting to it, and I think I'm doing it well. So
okay. I'm excited. So let's get into it. What you been doing for 2 years?
Yeah. So just essentially introducing, say, the fireworks and special effects to Bermuda, and kind of like looking at the market to say what's new, what do people. Well, I can't even say what do people want, but okay, what's trending and what's new, and what I can introduce to Bermuda, and so. And then how do I build it into a price point and kind of feeling out, okay, is this too high? Is this too low? Where do most people want to be? And how do I capture a larger market? So I've done that through adding, say, something like gender reveals or adding like cold spark machines, things like that for weddings, so that I can say, okay, if people say, oh, you're too expensive, then you're like, no, I'm not, because I have things all the way down to $500 all the way up, right, to a full-blown fireworks show. And so just trying to find creative ways to fit into everyone's budget is what I've been learning over the last 2 years. And so, yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, I think for you, like, you are the guy when it comes to fireworks. There's no one else that is doing that, right? Because you have to have certain certifications. You have to be trained to be able to do that. So I think it kind of puts you in a place where if you want fireworks, you are the guy that...
Correct.
And I remember for a while when the last owner who had the license to do fireworks was gone, it was like a miss, right? It was like, remember, we used to have fireworks for the 4th of July and New Year's, and we don't have that anymore. So it's nice to be back. Can you talk about some of the kind of projects that you have most enjoyed doing?
Yes. And to add to what you just mentioned, I'm dealing with kind of a generational gap in the awareness and the kind of acceptance of fireworks. So, I'll say us who are, 40 and up remember fireworks. And then, the earlier generations are like, well, we grew up without it, so we don't really understand kind of what the experiential impact of it is. And then also, too, trying to get the understand that it has an economic impact due to the attraction of the amount of people that, say, would come out to an event just to be a spectator and how that works. So I feel like generationally we're in this divide of the older population, like, yeah. And the newer ones are like, they're in that seat, but they're not like, oh, well, why would I even have that? I don't know how that can really benefit or not. And so, sorry to get back to your question.
Yeah, about which
projects.
Projects that you've done since the last time we met.
Yeah, so continuing with the fireworks, now adding in, like, as you may know, drones have definitely become a popular add-on in the industry as well. So in just kind of following trends, even though I feel like, Bermuda, we're not quite there to be able to have enough say drone shows and fireworks shows with the combination of the two, which I really like, because I watch a lot of I use Disney as my model, and I say, okay, they have always done fireworks for eons. Okay, lighting design and drones is something they've added onto it as well. So now that we can brand along with having the fireworks and creating a combined experience, and then even adding choreography to it, it just makes for like this really, really, really big spectacle. And it's like, okay, those are great great opportunity. So I've invested in the drone market.
Okay.
Whether or not Bermuda has the amount of uptake to be able to support that, at least it allows me to put my hat into kind of the global market and kind of move around. And because there's just it's growing, and there's quite a bit of drone operators out there, but it's still a new industry, and so that opens me out to be able to go to the U.S. or go anywhere else, to other Caribbean islands, and say, okay, yeah, you want something, I can drag all my stuff down there and do it, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I look at kind of justifying if Bermuda doesn't have really the market to be able to keep that sustainable. I can at least throw my hat in and go other.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Answer my question. Which one did you like doing the best? Which event?
I'm true to fireworks because it is just, it's based in culture. And when I was getting into this, you see generationally different countries and their families have been doing it and building fireworks, and just the creative aspects and elements of that. So you get the wow factor, you see the colors, you hear the sound. And for some people that's disturbing. So we're in this like divide of like, wow, fireworks are noisy or disruptive or have you.
But they're pretty.
But they're right. And we're talking 3-5 minutes, right? So for people who are just like anti the noise, it's like, wow, it's a short amount of time for the impact, right? And so I think, though drones are fun and new, fireworks give you the full sensory experience. You can feel the thump in your chest. You can see the colors. It's just a full sensory experience. The drones are great, but then you're sitting there and you're seeing it, and it's like kind of watching TV, and it's fun because things move.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say the fireworks. So for me, I believe that both of them should be combined in every aspect because one allows you to do something that the other can't. So it's a great combo.
Okay. All right. So you talked a little bit about adoption, right? And the change in, I guess, generations and what people were used to our age, right? We remember fireworks, and maybe younger people don't. So what do you think contributes to, I guess, the lack of adoption or the lack of interest, and how has that impacted your business model and what you offer?
Yeah, so it's impacted in a way where I've had to really innovate and come up with, like I said, those smaller offerings, like special effects offerings that include gender reveals and proposals and things like that, smaller stuff, just to kind of keep the wheels turning. But I think the lack of adoption is coming from, I think we could really benefit in Bermuda from a collaborative approach to sponsorship. Versus we're always looking for, well, who's going to pay for this? It's like, well, everybody puts in a little bit and it goes a long way. And that's how it's done in the U.S. You'll see a brochure book from the day's event and it's got, 500 sponsors, right? Everybody put in $1,000, right? And then now we have the fireworks show funded. So, when it comes to kind of addressing Harbor Nights, for example, is a great example. You have all those restaurants on there. They want bums in seats, right? They should anyway. And so you have the beautiful terraced seating areas that have like a line of sight view of the fireworks. Yeah. And then it gives people, that fills up their restaurants. And then the additional shopping for people to come out and all of those businesses will benefit from the increased traffic. And so by them putting in a marginal amount of money, collectively, the fireworks, it's not even really about what it costs anymore. It's about how do we get as many people out there enjoying the event. And then the smaller trickle down to the vendors that are there. Harbor Nights is great for, the mom and pop businesses. So I would think that they would want to latch on to me to say, hey, how can we know where fireworks are or get events going so that we can, sell our little trinkets and stuff like that and around more foot traffic.
So is that the approach that you've taken to offer shows like for Harbor Nights, like you said?
Yeah.
Could the evening close with fireworks?
Yes.
And is that how you've approached the corporation or the chamber, who are the ones that put it on, as well as the restaurants in and around Front Street?
Yeah, so I'm trying to do that, and yes, I have. It is, but I just don't, the vision has not quite like transition. Plus, there's a lot of turnover in a lot of these different organizations.
I know, yeah.
So to be honest, I know if you talk about the chamber, for example, I've been trying to work with them since 2022, and there's been somebody new every year, right? Or give or take. So it's like you make all this head work, and then all of a sudden you start from scratch each time. So that's really what I find particularly. And so people are like, oh my God, fireworks, that's a big thing. I just started this position. I don't even want to get into that because it seems like it's a lot of red tape and hassle and all that other stuff. And so what's been great is I've been working with the police and the authorities and stuff to make it easy, because they want great events and they're happy now that I've been able to prove myself. To have these events, right? They're not there to prevent these things from happening. They just want it to be safe.
Right.
So now they know they have a competent operator. It's like I've been able to take down a lot of that red tape barrier and then be able to step in and get things done. So I really am excited about that. So that's a lot of the legwork I've been doing in the meantime of trying to say, okay, guys, like this is really, really important, particularly from a tourism perspective.
Yeah.
Every time I'm doing like my operations, logistically moving fireworks in and out of like, my van and stuff like that to go places, I see tourists that are from the cruise line, and they're just like, where's the fireworks? Where's the fireworks? They see my van, and I said, oh, sorry, there's either nothing happening today, or if I'm just like shuffling things around or doing inventory, right? And they really, really want fireworks. And then they'll stop and tell me their story about a fireworks show they were a part of years and years ago. So I just think that, and then you say a jurisdiction like, say, Florida, where they're having fireworks every single day.
Right.
And you're just like, whoa, like we're really missing out on a great opportunity to have improve our experience.
Have a better experience from the tourist perspective.
Yeah, locals to tourists, everybody's bringing their picnics out and having a good time, and it just creates more of an enriching experience as we live here.
So from an entrepreneurship perspective and operating and running this business, what would you say has been some of the challenges that you've experienced, and how are you resolving them, and what other things do you think you would need in order to make it easier for you to deliver on your service offering?
Yeah, it would get a lot easier, like, again, if we had more of like that collective mindset around the inclusion of having fireworks in it and seeing its value. And it would be easier, I guess, if a lot more clients would take a risk and say, hey, we're having this event each night. Some hotels have like events every week or what have you, and it's like, why not just add fireworks even once a month and see how that kind of improves the experience or what have you. I mean, I know the budgets are there, the money's there, so just kind of taking a risk and saying, let's see about adding this, because it's a very important, and I stress it's a very important industry to have here on the island. Whether you're for fireworks or not, it's really about like kind of the bigger stakeholders coming together and say, hey, look, even if we're doing something once a year, it's really important to keep investing in this industry, because other jurisdictions have it. So for example, the weddings are probably the most popular business aspect that I do on a regular basis, because people are just like, yeah, so you want to come to Bermuda and we want to have fireworks, because in the U.S. and other places, it's just commonplace to have fireworks, the bigger budget weddings, of course. And so it allows our jurisdiction to be competitive instead of them saying, well, I'll go somewhere a lot cheaper, save money, and have fireworks, right, elsewhere. So it's really, really important, I think, to collaboratively come together. So I'm just excited to be able to have conversations with people, and now that I've taken down a lot of the hassle. So honestly, it's very turnkey. If you want fireworks, on Wednesday, you just let me know. I send you the invoice, and it's like I sort out everything else. And then you WhatsApp me 10 minutes before, and I hit the button and I go. Right? Okay. So it's that easy. So if people are kind of concerned about the hassle, the
logistics and all that, what's required. Yeah.
I've sorted it. So I've sorted it all out. Okay. It's very easy now.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think based on listening to you and hearing you speak, it sounds like there's an opportunity for you to work with organizations like the BTA who do these like major events on an annual basis.
Correct.
And figure out where you can fit into it, right?
Correct.
As well as, like you said, the Corporation of Hamilton and the Chamber of Commerce, because why couldn't you do fireworks for Harbor Nights to end, cap off the event, right?
Yes.
And with fireworks. So I think it's a real opportunity there. Glad to know that you've made some inroads in breaking down those barriers. But maybe we just need to bring them all to the table and be like, hey, how can we make this happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let me ask you this. So in terms of uptake, do you think that the perception is that the cost of putting on fireworks is prohibitive?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's what some of the barrier is?
I think that's what people are fearful of.
Yeah.
Because whether it be pride or what have you, people don't, if you have to ask, you can't afford it kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And I want to say, hey, look, let's have a conversation, because what I do is I scale the show based off of proximity. There's so many parameters that go into it. So yes, we'll have those big shows because you have two hotels that want to share the show. Like say for Mid-Ocean, for example, obviously a higher budget show because I'm using bigger product. I'm sharing it amongst the wider space. Bermuda's small, and so a lot of times, if you're having a little concert or if you're doing a one-off event, then I'm like, okay, if this is a one-off event and we're doing and I can expect to do this annually with you, let's work out something that we can do and that we can afford to make it happen. So, I brought my prices down so that they're comparable, and it's sometimes even lower than the United States, right? And so I say to myself, I'm not expensive. I'm not expensive, especially in comparison to what people spend in the States. I don't even want to tell you, the shows when I was doing my training, these were very, very expensive shows. They were very big, elaborate shows, but, even churches, even in church, we did shows from rooftops for mega churches, and they would spend way, way, way more than my most expensive, biggest show that I shoot in Bermuda. So I think the
it's
price
just
shouldn't
a misconception.
Yes. It's big, so it must be expensive, and it's like, well, I've honed that all in, and I work smart, and I operate smart. I brought the show times down too. You don't need a 15-minute fireworks show. I mean, 3, 5, 8 minutes, that's enough, right? And so that, too, in and of itself, allows me to spread out inventory, be more logistically sound, and provide a more economic service to the client as well.
Right. And so those are things that I don't think that people really think about, right? They just think about, oh, it must be a lot because this big, magnificent thing is happening, right? And so I'm glad that you have the opportunity to just say that there is a chance to create something that's bespoke and works for you and your budget. And you're the guy, so you get to dictate what the cost will be. So we talked a little bit earlier about drones and incorporating them into your offering. So from your perspective, how does drone experience differ from a fireworks experience?
It is less impactful because you don't have the sound aspect to it.
Okay.
And you don't have kind of that unexpected burst. You know what I mean? So it's less of it's more predictable. You don't know what the new shape's going to be, but it's slower. It's very beautiful, and it's very awe-inspiring. And the reason I brought it in is because I felt like being able to brand shows. I have a lot of clients who are like, how do I put my logo into this firework?
Right.
Can a firework make my logo? And I'm like, no. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's going to pop.
So I said, okay, maybe there's an opportunity there. I know, last year there was a few events, and I know the PGA, but it's like, is this going to be a reoccurring thing, or is it just kind of a one-off? This was a wow factor that we wanted to try something new. And so I think the biggest challenge is trying to stay relevant and innovate, but at the same time, too, hear timelines. People, we're very kind of last minute, right?
Yes, we are.
So that doesn't allow me to really have a lot of time to be able to produce productions And so my concern is when I look at the firework aspect of what I do and the timelines that are given to me, and then I look at drones, I say, well, drones require you to customize.
Because you have to choreograph what they're going to do,
prior
right?
to. So that can take, months, right? It's like, what's your logo? And then you got to design it. Okay, what kind of story do you want to tell, right? So with that being said, it's just like, I just don't know if I can get enough earlier uptake when a lot of events tend to be like, to the line all the time, right?
I mean, in an ideal scenario, I guess it would be, like you said, to have those events that occur annually, to have that kind of contract so you know that next year this is what we're going to do. You already have the assets that you need to produce most of it. You just may want to tweak it and do something. So I guess that would be the ideal, right? Because then you'll have the lead time. Yeah. So now it's you. I know you, but I'm sure that there is a team of you that have to make the magic happen. How do you ensure that your team remains skilled and taking into consideration all the safety concerns and all of that? How do you stay abreast of all the new trends and skilling up your team and yourself?
My team is very, very small, and it is the challenge, and I have to really be there because unfortunately the ability to be able to get people trained, I can't just go out into like an open space in Bermuda and do some demos and get people really hands-on. It's like it's trial by fire, like in the moment. So that makes it very, very, very difficult to get people to the point where it's like, you know what, I can trust you to just take care of this and I don't have to be here. So it ends up being, a lot of hands-on for me to be able to, keep an eye on them, make sure everything's set up. So what I end up really doing is utilizing them from, like, I do all the work pretty much myself. And then when they're out there in the field, I use that as an opportunity to explain what's here, and get them kind of familiar with it. I can kind of see their behavior around, the handling of it, the safety aspects, because not only is the safety portion for setting up important, but after is probably the most dangerous part because there's just a whole myriad of things that can kind of go wrong at the end. So it's not just a matter of taking everything and bagging it up and throwing it away. Like, that's when it really becomes, the expertise really becomes important, is in those elements. So it's tough because it's like, it's not for everybody. But I'm really excited to be able to get people who are interested to come out and to, be a part of it, and say, look, like, you're here just to kind of get exposed, check it out. And from there, we can kind of move you into kind of a consistent basis. So I find myself right now doing a lot of the work myself, at this point, just because, I really can't make a mistake. I've worked so hard to build confidence locally with all the authorities. So it's just like I have to really treat it like a baby in the water kind of thing. It's like,
keep your eyes and your hands on.
So great to just be hands off and just be like, that's happening over here, this is happening over there. Yeah. So right now I'm training, my people, because at potentially this New Year's will be the first time we have 2 shows happening at the same time.
Okay,
so that's important, right? I need to be able to be in 2 places at the same time. So yeah, I'm working with people now.
So I'm always thinking about how you can leverage the opportunity, how you can take advantage of it. And for myself, like, you are the guy for fireworks. I do think it's important. And once everybody understands the importance and how it can benefit, I think there's an area of opportunity to train up young Bermudians, right, to be in this industry and to work with you.
Right.
And then I think about workforce development. I'm like, they have their apprentice programs. Could they go overseas and get trained to deliver and then come back and support you, So it's just things like that I think are huge opportunities, especially in a space where there's one of one, right? So I'm just throwing that at you.
So right now it's I'm trying to creatively innovate with a lot of the businesses that are already happening. Say, for example, Sunset Cruises. That's what I'm trying to say. And I say, okay, you guys have this infrastructure already in place. Can we add fireworks to it, right? Because it's like these are things that are already done in other jurisdictions that I'm seeing, and I'm like, how do we bring that to Bermuda if it's not being done already? And so it's like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And so it's like, how do we get that message out there too? And okay, let's do some promotional videos and connect those dots for people so that they can envision themselves going on, a boat charter and enjoying the sunset and then having little fireworks at the end and coming off, right? It's like, so these things are already being done successfully in other jurisdictions. And I'm like, how has nobody ever thought about this?
Right.
Okay, cool. So like, here we are. So it's about really building up the imagination in people, which is the toughest part right now.
Yes,
so it's like, okay, now the imagination's being built, and then how do you get it out to the masses? And we've got this many people who can even, possibly want to do that. And so, yeah, it's
so you mentioned briefly, but I heard it when we were talking about the drones and the opportunity for you to kind of provide what you're offering to other places and other jurisdictions. Is that something that you are actively pursuing? And what would that look like for you?
Yeah, how I do it is like, for example, I've reached out to many of the tourism jurisdictions in other locations, other Caribbean islands, and I say, okay, for me, it's like, I get the chance to go to this place, and everything's paid for, and I'll do a drone show for you, right? And I get to hang out there for a week or something like that, right? And I can bring the cost down, and then we kind of get that added benefit, right? But what I do is I just reach out, which is what a lot of the industry does, is try to reach out to a lot of the tourism boards to say, this is a way to market your location in your island, right? And I think here we have such a great story that we can tell. The amount of history, the Bermuda Triangle, aspects of stuff and the stories, like we could really build in that superstition, using drones and fireworks together, etc. And just really give the the tourists an opportunity to like want to come back.
That would be really cool.
Particularly on Mondays in Dockyard, I've reached out, and a lot of the restaurants there, are interested, but it's just an unbelievable amount of pushback when you have two big cruise ships there, and it's like, here's an opportunity to like tell a story. People can come off the boat or whatever, or you have, say, 5,000 people on one boat, so that's 10,000, we'll say, cell phones out, recording this in Bermuda. It goes to social media. It blows up our numbers.
Right.
It's all stuff that we already know, right? But those are the opportunities I feel like, drones and things like that are crucial and could be used today.
Right.
But we're just not seeing it. But in other jurisdictions, that's what I do, is I reach out. Hey, who wants to do this? In Florida, I have connections through my industry, and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, we have a love burn or kind of like a Burning Man type of thing here. I'll talk to my guy. We really want to add drones this year or when you kind of get going. And I say, okay, cool, great. So the world's open up for drones. And you can take them anywhere versus fireworks. You're really locked into that jurisdiction due to so many different other
safety and all of that, right?
The laws and everything. It's like every place is different. And so, with drones, it's not.
Right.
You can take them anywhere you want in the world right now.
So I'm wondering, like, with fireworks, could you know how you're like certified to practice law in different jurisdictions, right? Yeah. Is that a thing where you can be certified to do fireworks show in certain jurisdictions if after going through whatever security and safety mechanisms that jurisdiction requires?
Yeah.
Is that a thing or no?
It's a lot of times. There's oftentimes a fireworks person in each region.
The jurisdiction. Okay. Well, in that case, yeah. But in the event that it's not.
And in the event that it's not, a lot of times, like, there was this TV show where, like the Congo or other places would bring in this crew from Canada. And so you're just dealing with government at that point, and they can make anything happen. It's like, we're bringing in these people to do the fireworks. We're going to ship everything in. But it becomes this kind of real big logistical nightmare because you're bringing in the stuff via container. Where you're going to put it, how you're going to truck it.
Make sure it's
the laws
still
and the
good.
rules, safety in the community. Like, it's pretty daunting.
Whereas drones don't require that much legislation and security.
Right, correct. You just kind of come in, you deal with the FAA.
Yeah.
And they're relatively the same because planes fly everywhere, so they kind of have that same kind of mindset. But since with fireworks, now you're dealing with, what different authorities having jurisdiction over that safety aspect of it, and different mindsets and different risks profiles.
Gotcha.
It's a lot.
Gotcha. Okay, never mind that.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, I guess safety is paramount.
Yeah.
So look, we're at the bottom of our half hour. So if you had all the people that you need to have in a room,
$1 million, I'd retire today. So
no,
all the people in the room,
no,
yes.
the community leaders, all the people that would need to understand what we've been talking about and the importance and the impact that could have for the local and the tourist community. What would you say to encourage them to take advantage of the opportunity to include fireworks and drones and all of that into the experiences that they currently offer?
I would say, we're at a period in time, innovation, and existence where, it's people are traveling else. We Bermudians, we go everywhere and we're seeing these amazing things. And we're like, why can't we, have these things here? And the benefit of it is enriching our lives here in Bermuda and having a great experience with our families and bringing people together. And that's what's beautiful about, these big experiences, is that now we're rubbing shoulders with people that we wouldn't rub shoulders with on a daily basis, right? And now that creates a tolerance level that, we may or may not have. And then we're coming out of, say, a COVID kind of mindset where we've been locked away for so long, and now we're like, okay, let's get back together. Let's do this for the family. Let's enrich our lives and our experiences here by having these major events. The price is not the factor. Not only the money is here, but we can collectively afford to be able to add this in. And now, bring the kids, bring families, rub shoulders together, and build a sense of community in such a small place like this, like we want to, and help to build the tolerance and that maybe curb some of the antisocial kind of behavior that may be going on, because we just so separate from one another in such a small place like this, right? So I would say, the price isn't the problem anymore. It's about how can we collectively afford to come together and take down some of the barriers, the financial barriers, to be able to include these into events, both small and both large, particularly from a volume. There's a volume aspect to this where, if we're doing something every week, the price is obviously significantly less. We're doing, one thing once every year, then of course, and do I need a barge? Do I not need a barge? How can together we take down some of the obstacles I have so that we can, even make the price even better as we go forward. But I think it's really crucial as a community for us to be able to have these experiences, to have our kids and families having these experiences, and that helps their creative mindset and realizing that there's an industry out there that they can get into, in their future, and opens up their world to, the possibilities of things and not just so limited.
Awesome. So people are going to be like, yes, I have to have fireworks, so I have to have drones. So how should people get in touch with you to kind of make that first connection?
Yeah, my website's the easiest way. Swan Pyro, Pyro.com.
Okay.
You can message me right on there, and I have a list of all the things that I offer there as well. But send me a quick message. I'll send you my WhatsApp information, and then from there we can work out the details.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Swan, for minding business with me today.
Thank you so much for having me once again.
Of course. Yeah. We're going to make it happen. Look, I want to see fireworks here in Bermuda, so we're going to make it happen, and hopefully it'll be, like you said, an annual part of these major events that we have going on in Bermuda. Why not? It would just add that much more to it. So thanks again for coming on, and remember, if you don't mind your business, who will?
Correct.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for tuning in to Mind Your Business with me, your host, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. because if you don't mind your business, who will? Mind Your Business is brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.